Listen closely, because this moment is not accidental, and neither is the silence you've been keeping. There is a divine reason your voice has felt restrained. Your thoughts guarded your spirit quieter than usual. What you may have interpreted as isolation, withdrawal, or even weakness has actually been something far more powerful, a strategic move crafted by heaven itself. Your silence was not empty. It was not passive. It was not a sign that you were losing ground. It was a sign that God was taking over the battle on your behalf. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That pull to step back, that sudden lack of desire to explain yourself, that inner knowing that speaking would only stir more confusion, more conflict, more misunderstanding. Something inside you kept whispering, wait, be still. Don't reveal everything yet. And even when people demanded explanations, when circumstances begged for your reaction, when your emotions wanted to rise up and defend your name, something stronger kept your mouth shut. That was not fear. That was not insecurity. That was divine restraint. You have no idea how many traps you avoided because you chose silence instead of reaction. How many spiritual battles God fought while you appeared still. How many plots against you collapsed because you refused to play into the enemy's hands. Your silence has been your shield. Your stillness has been your protection. And your refusal to fight battles you were never meant to fight has opened a door for God to fight them for you. There is a reason things around you have been shifting quietly. There is a reason certain people have been removed. Certain conversations have ended. Certain opportunities have paused. Heaven has been rearranging the atmosphere, clearing the noise, and positioning you for what comes next. You didn't need to speak. You didn't need to defend yourself. You didn't need to make announcements or prove your worth. God saw everything. God heard everything. God understood what you could not articulate. And now, heaven is preparing to speak in a way that will leave no confusion about who you are, what you carry, and why you were kept hidden for a season. This is not just another message. This is a divine revelation meant specifically for this moment in your journey. If you are listening right now, it is because heaven has declared, it is time for you to understand why I kept you silent and what I am about to speak on your behalf. Stay with me. What is coming next will confirm everything your spirit has been sensing. And as that truth settles into your spirit, you need to understand something even deeper. The restraint you walked in didn't originate from your own strength or discipline. It wasn't simply emotional maturity or wisdom you picked up along the way. It was the hand of God, guiding you, holding you, shielding you from battles that would have drained you long before the blessing arrived. That stillness you felt inside, that was divine intervention. That was heaven placing its hand over your mouth, not to silence your voice, but to preserve your destiny. You didn't just choose silence, silence chose you. There were moments when you tried to speak, and the words simply wouldn't come out right. Moments when you attempted to confront something, but it felt like your spirit pulled you backward instead of forward. Moments when you had every reason to react, every right to defend yourself, but something higher kept whispering, not this time. Not like this. Not here. That was not coincidence. That was the divine voice of the one who sees the entire battlefield, not just the small corner others tried to drag you into. Because the truth is, this God saw conversations you were not present for. He heard whispers behind your back, felt the intentions of hearts disguised as concern, and recognized plots forming long before they ever reached your ears. He saw traps you didn't even know existed, and in His mercy, He guided you into a sacred silence so the enemy could never use your words against you. This message today does not come from human understanding. It comes from the one who watched over you while you slept. who guarded your spirit when you were too tired to discern, who stepped into the places where your voice could not follow. You were kept quiet because heaven was speaking loudly. You were hidden because God was preparing a public demonstration. You were misunderstood because your purpose is not meant to be understood by people who cannot see spiritually. What you are hearing now is not merely encouragement, it is confirmation. A divine announcement. Heaven is making it clear, I was the one who restrained you because I was the one fighting for you. Every time you stayed silent, your spirit moved into alignment with his strategy. Every moment you held your tongue, you were walking in obedience to a plan far greater than the moment you were standing in. You may not have realized it, but your silence was not weakness, it was partnership with heaven. And now God is lifting the veil. He is letting you know that the silence was not a pause. It was preparation, a spiritual setup, a divine suspension of noise so you could enter into a new dimension of clarity, protection, and authority. Heaven withheld your voice so that when God speaks next, no one will be able to deny that it was him. Not your arguments, not your explanations, not your opinions, but his justice, his power, his timing. There is a revelation unfolding, and you are standing at the threshold of it. The silence is ending not because you will speak, but because God is about to speak on your behalf. And when he does, everything that was confusing will suddenly make sense. And as this truth settles deeper, something begins to rise within you, a quiet awareness that the silence was never empty, never wasted, never accidental. It was the birthplace of a prophecy that is only now beginning to unfold. Because what heaven is revealing in this moment is not merely an explanation of your past. It is a glimpse into what is coming next. There is a shift happening around your life, subtle yet unmistakable, and it has been building silently beneath the surface. You may not have seen it forming, but your spirit felt it. Your dreams sensed it. Your intuition whispered it. That tension in the air, that strange heaviness before breakthrough, that almost electric stillness hovering over your atmosphere. Those were not random feelings. They were signals, indicators, spiritual tremors announcing that something long hidden is preparing to erupt into the visible realm. The prophecy is this: what you didn't say, God will now say. What you didn't defend, God will now vindicate. What you held back, God is about to reveal. Your silence created a vacuum that heaven is about to fill with divine speech. And when God speaks, it will not sound like a whisper. It will sound like doors opening where they were once locked. It will sound like clarity piercing confusion. It will sound like unexpected opportunities appearing out of nowhere. It will sound like truth rising to the surface, even when others tried to bury it. It will sound like favor rushing toward you in ways you never predicted. The very things you were pressured to explain, God will expose. The very situations where you felt powerless, God will overturn. The very moments where your voice wasn't enough, God's voice will be more than enough. You have been in a spiritual courtroom without even realizing it. Accusations were made, opinions were formed, assumptions were whispered, judgments were cast. And while your silence made others think you were defenseless, heaven was assembling evidence on your behalf. You were not losing. You were being represented. There is a divine reversal coming, swift, sudden, and unmistakably God orchestrated. A turning of the tide, a flipping of the narrative, a rearranging of positions. Those who once thought you were stepping backward will suddenly realize you were being positioned. Those who thought your quietness meant defeat will soon witness that it was the posture of someone being elevated. The prophecy goes deeper still. Your silence created space for God to shift the atmosphere around you. Now, He is shifting you into a season where your life will speak louder than your voice ever could. Imagine it like this. A seed remains silent beneath the soil, unseen, unnoticed, unmoving. Yet in that silence, power is gathering. Pressure is building. Strength is forming. The moment the soil breaks and the seed pushes upward, no one can deny what God has done. You were that seed. Your silence was not the grave. It was the ground. And God is about to show the world what He planted in you. You are entering a prophetic unfolding where things that were hidden will be revealed, where motives will be exposed, where truth will surface without your intervention, and where God's hand will become unmistakable. Not subtle, not symbolic, unmistakable. The voices that misunderstood you will fall silent. The forces that opposed you will lose their influence. The confusion that surrounded you will dissolve like fog in sunlight. And God says this: you stayed silent long enough. Now I will speak. And when I do, no one will be able to silence what I declare. Expect movement. Expect clarity. Expect revelation. Expect sudden alignment. Expect the unraveling of lies and the unveiling of truth. Expect the spiritual realm to shift in your favor. Expect that the very areas where you felt powerless will become the very places where God displays His power. This prophecy is not distant. It is near. It is active. It is unfolding even now as you listen. The evidence will not be delayed. The signs will not be subtle. The shift will not be small. When God speaks this time, it will echo in places your voice could never reach. It will touch hearts your explanations could never soften. It will open doors your efforts could never budge. Your silence was strategic, but God's voice. God's voice will be transformational. And as this prophecy begins to take shape within you, it's important to understand the deeper spiritual truth beneath everything you've walked through. Because your silence wasn't merely a moment of restraint. Your silence was a spiritual language, a signal to heaven, a posture that positioned you in ways words never could. To grasp what is unfolding, you must see the deeper meaning behind what God orchestrated in the shadows of your life. Silence in the natural realm often appears passive. But in the spiritual realm, silence is powerful. Silence is alignment. Silence is surrender. Silence is the soul stepping out of the way so that the Spirit can take the lead. There are battles won, not by arguing, not by explaining, not by proving anything, but by standing still, holding peace, and letting heaven fight. Your silence was the equivalent of stepping back from the noise of the world and stepping into the rhythm of divine timing. It was heaven pressing mute on distractions so you could hear the whispers buried beneath the chaos. Every time you chose to stay quiet instead of react, you were tuning your spirit to God's frequency. You were learning to listen, learning to discern, learning to recognize when God says, "This battle is mine, not yours." Think of a storm. The wind roars, the waves crash, the sky trembles with thunder. But deep beneath the ocean's surface, there is stillness. The deeper the waters, the quieter the storm becomes. Your spirit was sinking into that depth. While everything around you felt loud and turbulent, God was anchoring you below the surface where clarity lives. That depth is where revelation comes from. That depth is where strength is forged. That depth is where purpose is purified. There is a spiritual principle at work. God often hides His chosen ones in silence before revealing them in glory. Before David became king, he endured silent years in the fields. Before Joseph ruled Egypt, he endured silent years in the prison. Before Esther saved a nation, she endured silent preparation behind palace walls. Before Jesus began His ministry, He endured 30 years of quiet, unseen shaping. Silence is not the absence of activity. Silence is the birthplace of destiny. Your silence refined you. It humbled you. It sharpened your discernment. It strengthened your spiritual sensitivity. It removed addictions to validation and freed you from the need to explain yourself to people who were never meant to understand you in the first place. Silence didn't weaken you. It prepared you to carry the weight of what comes next. God used silence to reveal truth, to expose hidden motives, to sift your environment, to separate those who were for you from those who were simply around you, to strip away illusions and show you what could not be seen when your world was noisy. Silence became a mirror, revealing who you truly are and who others truly were. Spiritually, your silence served as a shield. It protected you from traps disguised as conversations. It kept you from binding yourself to the wrong alliances. It saved you from battles designed to drain your energy before your assignment began. You weren't retreating, you were being preserved. Silence also served as pruning. God removed the unnecessary branches from your life, not to punish you, but so you could bear fruit in the next season. The pruning felt painful, but the growth it produced will be undeniable. There is a beauty to divine pruning. What is cut away clears space for what is coming. Silence was also separation. God wasn't isolating you, He was elevating you. Sometimes He pulls His chosen away from the crowd because their next chapter requires a new environment, purified motives, and a level of spiritual maturity that noise could never produce. On a deeper level, your silence became a spiritual waiting room. There heaven whispered secrets only the silent can hear. There God deposited wisdom, clarity, and inner strength. There He healed wounds you didn't have words for. There He shifted your mindset, restored your heart, and recalibrated your vision. Think of a door. When it opens silently, it often means something significant is happening behind it. God opened a door inside you during your quiet season. A door to intuition, a door to deeper discernment, a door to spiritual authority, a door to purpose. Your silence was not a void. It was a divine conversation between you and God. The world heard nothing, but heaven heard everything. And now that the silence has done its work, God is preparing to move in ways that will demonstrate the spiritual transformation that took place while your voice was still. There is meaning behind every quiet moment, every withheld word, every time you wanted to speak, but didn't. You weren't muted. You were maturing. You weren't shrinking. You were strengthening. You weren't forgotten. You were being formed. And now the spiritual depth that grew inside you is about to surface in powerful, undeniable ways. What you learned in silence, you will soon walk out in strength. And now that you understand the spiritual depth of your silence, you're beginning to notice something else. Subtle shifts, quiet changes, small but undeniable indicators that God is already moving on your behalf. These signs aren't random. They are confirmations, evidence, source, spiritual fingerprints proving that the prophecy is unfolding even before the full manifestation arrives. You may have sensed them, but now you will see them with clarity. Sign 1. The sudden separation from noise. Lately, you may have felt a natural disconnection from people, environments, or conversations that once demanded your energy. Not because you're distant, not because you're cold, but because your spirit simply cannot tolerate unnecessary noise anymore. Things that once stirred you now provoke no reaction. Situations that once triggered you now roll off your spirit. This is confirmation that your silence wasn't an accident, it was alignment. God is tuning your soul to His voice by removing distractions from your environment. Sign 2. The collapse of hidden agendas. You may begin to notice that certain people can't hide their intentions anymore. The masks are slipping. Conversations are revealing more truth than ever. Some relationships may feel strained, not because you changed, but because God is exposing motives that were once hidden. This exposure is not meant to hurt you. It is meant to protect you. Your silence created a space where the truth could surface without your involvement. Sign 3. The return of inner strength. Even in your quiet season, something inside you is awakening. You're beginning to feel stronger, clearer, more grounded, more aligned with your purpose. The confusion that once clouded your mind is lifting. The heaviness in your spirit is loosening. This renewed inner strength is a sign that God is preparing to speak on your behalf, and He needs you spiritually stable to receive what comes next. Sign 4. The emergence of unexpected clarity. Have you noticed how answers are coming faster? How things that once confused you now appear obvious? How decisions feel simpler, lighter, more intuitive? This clarity isn't from you, it's from God. He is clearing the fog from your path so you can walk forward without hesitation. This clarity is confirmation that the divine shift has already begun. Sign 5. The shift in your emotional responses. You may find that you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. No urge to prove anything, no desire to fight back. Situations that used to pull you into emotional spirals now feel distant, almost insignificant. This emotional detachment is not numbness, it is elevation. God is lifting you above the battles you once thought you had to fight. Sign 6. The quiet confidence rising within you. Perhaps the most powerful sign of all, a subtle, unshakable knowing rising within your spirit. You may not have all the answers, but you feel secure. You feel covered. You feel supported in ways you can't explain. This quiet confidence is the voice of the Holy Spirit reminding you, I am speaking now. You can rest. These signs are not coincidences. They are divine signals, markers proving that God has already begun the work. Your silence opened the door. God is stepping through it. And now, before the fulfillment arrives, you must understand the challenges that may appear along the way. Not to discourage you, but to prepare you. But even as these signs begin to unfold, there is something important you must understand. Before the full manifestation of what God is about to release, there are hidden challenges you may encounter. These challenges are not punishments. They are not setbacks. They are spiritual tests designed to strengthen you, refine you, and prepare you for the weight of the blessing ahead. Every chosen one faces a moment where the process intensifies right before the promise arrives, and you may find yourself standing in that exact place now. Challenge 1. The temptation to break your silence too soon. As God begins to move, you may feel a sudden urge to speak, especially when you sense the shift, especially when truth starts surfacing, especially when others finally begin to see what you knew all along. But be careful. The enemy often tries to provoke you right before vindication, hoping you'll react and sabotage the timing. This temptation to explain yourself or defend your name is not from God. Stay still. Let heaven finish what it started. Let God speak, not your emotions. Challenge 2. The rising resistance from unexpected places. Sometimes when God is elevating you quietly, the enemy stirs resistance through those closest to you. Not enemies, not strangers, people you once trusted. Their discomfort is not about you. It's about the shift in the spiritual atmosphere around you. Your growth unsettles their stagnation. Your clarity exposes their confusion. Your light reveals their shadows. Don't internalize their reactions. Recognize them as part of the spiritual stretching that precedes breakthrough. Challenge 3. The feeling of isolation intensifying before expansion. Right before God brings increase, He often deepens the sense of isolation, not to discourage you, but to sharpen your focus. The path narrows before it widens. The silence deepens before revelation arrives. Isolation isn't abandonment, it's incubation. God is protecting your spirit from noise, distractions, and opinions that could contaminate the clarity He's giving you. Challenge 4. The battle against doubt and impatience. Even with signs of confirmation surrounding you, your mind may still wrestle with questions. Is this really God? Did I imagine these shifts? Why is it taking so long? This mental battle is one of the final challenges before breakthrough. Doubt is the enemy's last attempt to distract you from what is clearly unfolding. Patience is not passive, it is spiritual warfare. Holding steady when everything inside you wants to rush is an act of obedience that heaven honors. Challenge 5. The surge of spiritual warfare. Right before clarity. Whenever God prepares to speak on your behalf, the enemy attempts one last wave of confusion. You may experience strange emotions, heavy dreams, unusual tension, or unexplainable pressure. Do not be alarmed. This is spiritual resistance to the revelation that's coming. Pressure is proof that the enemy knows what you carry. The warfare increases because the enemy recognizes that God is about to make a move that cannot be undone. Challenge 6. The silence that feels like delay. There may be moments where God seems quiet even after giving you signs. This silence is not delay. This silence is alignment. Heaven is arranging details you cannot see. God is setting the stage so that when He speaks, the timing will be undeniable. These challenges do not mean something is wrong. They mean something is close. Very close. And now that you understand the challenges heaven is ready to give you, the instructions clear, divine, and necessary for the next phase of your journey. And now that you understand the challenges that may rise on your path, it is time for the part your spirit has been waiting for, the divine instructions. Because God is not only revealing what has happened, He is preparing you for what is about to unfold. Heaven does not call you into a new season without equipping you to move through it with wisdom, clarity, and authority. What comes next will require intentional alignment. Not striving, not forcing. Alignment. These are not casual suggestions. These are sacred directives, strategic movements designed to position you for the breakthrough already forming around your life. Instruction 1. Continue to honor the silence God gave you. Even as momentum builds, even as signs increase, even as clarity expands, God is calling you to remain selective with your voice. Not silent in fear, but silent in wisdom. Guard your plans. Guard your revelations. Guard your spiritual insights. Not everyone can interpret what God is birthing in you. Not everyone can steward the mysteries heaven reveals. Your silence is still part of the strategy. Speak only when the Spirit releases you. Move only when the peace inside you settles. Let your silence remain a sanctuary where God continues His work. Instruction 2. Strengthen your spiritual sensitivity. You're stepping into a season where discernment will be your anchor. God is heightening your intuition, sharpening your inner hearing, and making your spiritual eyesight clearer than ever. Pay attention to the quiet nudges. Trust the small hesitations. Honor the sudden shifts in your spirit. These are not random emotions. They are divine signals. God will guide you through impressions, dreams, patterns, and instincts. Do not dismiss what your spirit recognizes before your mind understands. Instruction 3. Release the need to defend yourself. Your vindication will not come from arguments, explanations, or public clarity. It will come from God's movement. Let go of the pressure to be understood. Release the desire to correct false narratives. Allow God to be your defender. When He speaks, and He will, it will be louder, clearer, and more powerful than anything you could ever say. Your role is to stay aligned. His role is to reveal truth. Instruction 4. Protect your environment and atmosphere. In this next season, energy matters. Atmosphere matters. Company matters. Who you allow into your space will either strengthen your spirit or drain it. You are being elevated spiritually, and elevation always requires purification. Remove yourself gracefully from environments that feel heavy, chaotic, draining, or spiritually stagnant. Surround yourself with peace. Surround yourself with clarity. Surround yourself with people who respect your growth, honor your purpose, and value your presence. Instruction 5. Anchor yourself in prayer and stillness. This is not the season to rush. This is not the season to force outcomes. This is the season to remain rooted in God's voice. Prayer will be your compass. Stillness will be your strength. Quiet devotion will be your protection. God is speaking more clearly, more directly, and more personally than ever. Make space to hear Him. Make time to seek Him. Your intimacy with God will determine the clarity of your next steps. Instruction 6. Prepare for movement even before you see it. Your breakthrough is not waiting on confirmation from the natural realm. It is waiting on your readiness. Begin preparing now. Prepare mentally. Prepare emotionally. Prepare spiritually. Prepare practically. The shift may come suddenly, but if you are positioned properly, you will step into it with grace, not confusion. God often releases blessing into the lives of those who prepare even when they can't yet see the harvest. Instruction 7. Walk with quiet confidence. This next phase requires a spiritual posture of calm authority. You do not need to announce anything. You do not need to seek validation. You do not need to prove your anointing. Walk with the steady confidence of someone who knows heaven is backing them. Let your demeanor reflect the truth: you are covered, you are guided, you are chosen, and God Himself is speaking on your behalf. Instruction 8. Stay detached from outcomes and attached to God. You are not responsible for forcing results. You are responsible for staying aligned. Let God determine the timing. Let God shape the outcome. Let God reveal what needs to be revealed. Release control not because you are powerless, but because you trust the One who holds the blueprint of your life. These instructions are not just guidance, they are preparation. They are the spiritual foundation for the miracle unfolding in your atmosphere. And now, having received instruction, you must hear the reassurance heaven is releasing over you, because the next phase of your journey will be wrapped in divine protection. And as these divine instructions settle into your spirit, heaven releases something just as important: assurance. Because instructions alone can feel heavy without the comfort of knowing that God is not sending you into this next season unprotected or unequipped. Everything that is unfolding around you is wrapped in the supernatural security of God's presence. You have not walked through silence alone. You have not endured the hidden battles by yourself. Even in the moments where you felt abandoned, misunderstood, or unseen, heaven was closer to you than ever. And now, as you step into a season where God speaks on your behalf, His protection will surround you with greater strength and clarity than you have ever experienced. You are guarded in the Spirit. There is a shield around you, one you may not physically see, but can spiritually feel. It's why certain attacks didn't land the way the enemy intended. It's why traps set against you collapsed before they reached you. It's why confusion swirled around you, but never broke you. God has assigned heavenly protection over your life, and in this next season, that protection is increasing. What once touched you will no longer have access. What once drained you will lose power. What once intimidated you will shrink in the presence of God's covering. Your name is being defended by heaven. While you remained silent, God was speaking in places you could not enter, conversations you never heard, decisions you weren't present for, rooms you were not invited into. God has been there. He has been defending your name, guarding your reputation, and dismantling lies spoken against you. You do not need to chase clarity. You do not need to correct misunderstandings. God Himself will vindicate you, and that vindication will echo louder than any explanation you could offer. Your path is being protected from sabotage. The silence you carried allowed God to block paths that would have harmed you and open those aligned with your destiny. Even the delays were protection. Even the detours were divine. You were not being rejected, you were being redirected. Every closed door was shielding you from something that would have weakened your spirit. And now, with the next chapter approaching, God is clearing your path with intentional precision. Nothing meant to sabotage you will survive this season. Your heart is being sheltered and strengthened. God is not only protecting your life, He is protecting your spirit. The wounds you endured during your silent season are not being ignored. Heaven has been tending to your heart, stitching what was torn, soothing what was bruised, restoring what was drained. This protection is emotional, spiritual, and internal. God is fortifying you so that when the blessing comes, you will not crumble under its weight, but rise into it with strength and stability. You are surrounded, not exposed. Where others saw vulnerability, heaven saw preparation. You were never unprotected, only hidden. Hidden so God could build you. Hidden so He could heal you. Hidden so He could reveal you at the right time. And that time is approaching. You are stepping into a season where God's presence will be felt. God's voice will be clear and God's covering will be undeniable. So take a breath. Rest your spirit. You are safe. You are shielded. You are held. And now, as protection wraps around you, heaven invites you to look ahead. Because what comes next is transformation so profound you will not recognize the version of yourself that walked into the silence. And as God's protection settles over your spirit, like a warm cloak, something inside you begins to change. Slowly at first, then with increasing strength and certainty. You can feel it, the transformation. The quiet, holy shift that tells you the chapter ahead will not look anything like the one you just came out of. Your silent season was never about diminishing you. It was about reshaping you. And now the version of you emerging is stronger, clearer, wiser, and more aligned than you have ever been in your life. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for. Your silence was not the end of your story. It was the cocoon. A sacred place where God could transform you away from the eyes and opinions of others. What happens in a cocoon looks like stillness, but in reality, it is pure metamorphosis. Wings form where there were none. Strength grows where weakness once lived. Identity shifts from survival to purpose. And now spiritually, emotionally, and energetically, you are stepping out of that cocoon. Your spirit is awakening to its true identity. Where you once questioned your value, you now feel grounded in it. Where you once doubted your purpose, you now sense it rising. Where you once feared being misunderstood, you now understand that only God needs to understand your calling. Your identity is no longer fragile. It is fortified. Not because people validated you, but because God affirmed you in the quiet places. Your discernment has been sharpened. The confusion that once clouded your judgment is gone. The fog has lifted. The silence trained your spirit to listen beneath the noise, to recognize what is real, what is false, what is divine, and what is distraction. You are no longer easily pulled off path. You are no longer vulnerable to manipulation. You are no longer influenced by opinions that once shaped your confidence. God has given you spiritual eyes that see deeper than appearances and a spiritual heart that senses truth before it speaks. Your strength has become internal, not external. You are no longer trying to appear strong, you are strong. You are no longer holding yourself together, you are being held by God. You are no longer reacting, you are responding with wisdom. There is a quiet authority developing within you, the kind that only comes from having survived what was meant to break you. And instead of collapsing, you evolved. The fulfillment phase is beginning. And now the transformation inside you is calling forth the fulfillment outside you. What God has been preparing, what He has been arranging in the unseen, will begin to manifest. You will see opportunities arise without striving. You will witness justice unfold without fighting. You will experience alignment without forcing outcomes. You will recognize blessings that feel tailor-made because they are. Where doors were once closed, they will now open before you. Where clarity was lacking, revelation will flow freely. Where strength was drained, fresh energy and passion will rise. Where you once questioned your future, you will walk into it with holy confidence. This is fulfillment not just of prophecy, but of identity. You will not return to who you were. The version of you that doubted your worth will not return. The version of you that over-explained will not return. The version of you that tolerated what drained you will not return. The version of you that settled for less than God's intention will not return. The silence broke you open so God could rebuild you stronger. And now as this transformation unfolds, you are standing on the edge of a new horizon, a season shaped not by your voice, but by God's voice speaking life, vindication, and direction over you. You are ready. You are aligned. You are restored. You are transformed. And now heaven speaks one final time to seal this journey with affirmation and blessing. And now, as this message comes to its divine conclusion, your spirit stands fuller, steadier, and more awakened than when you first began listening. You've walked through the revelation. You've understood the silence. You've received the instructions. You've embraced the transformation. And now, all of heaven leans in to seal this journey with truth, affirmation, and blessing. What God has begun in the quiet places of your life will not fade. What He has stirred within you will not go dormant. What He has promised over you will not return empty. You are stepping forward with authority. Not loud authority, spiritual authority. The kind that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove, doesn't need to convince. The kind that simply is. So before this word settles, speak these affirmations aloud or within your heart. 3 short declarations that align your spirit with heaven's intention. Affirmation 1. My silence was strategic, and God is speaking for me now. Let this truth anchor deep into your identity. You were never voiceless, you were divinely hidden. And now God takes the lead in every place your words were once demanded. Affirmation 2. What is meant for me cannot be stopped, blocked, or stolen. Every delay had purpose. Every detour had protection. What belongs to you by divine decree is returning with clarity and power. Affirmation 3. I am covered, guided, and prepared for what comes next. You are not stepping into the unknown. You are stepping into alignment, into purpose, into fulfillment. And now receive this final blessing, not as mere words, but as spiritual sealing over your journey. May clarity rise where confusion once lived. May protection surround you like a shield of light. May your spirit walk in peace no matter the noise around you. May God's voice echo louder than every false narrative ever spoken against you. May opportunities open that no human hand can close. May your name be honored where it was once misunderstood. May your strength increase, your discernment sharpen, and your purpose ignite. I speak over you a season of divine vindication, quiet but undeniable. A season of restoration, gentle but complete. A season of forward movement, steady, blessed, and God-led. May the peace of God fill every space within you that silence once exposed. May the presence of God walk before you into every room, every decision, every conversation. And may the blessing of God rest upon your life in ways that make it clear He was with you in the silence, and He will be with you in the breakthrough. Walk forward now, not with fear, but with holy confidence. Your silence was never the end of your story. It was the beginning of your rise.